I'm going to show you on this other example that we're doing here, this multi-story building. Uh, when you carve in details like in the windows here, you just zoom in here for a little bit, the stuff kind of pills on you and you can't really sand it off all the time, okay? And you know, depending on if you're trying to do something really detailed or something like that, it'll get to you, okay? So put on a first coat of this gooping stuff, and then the little bumps that are sticking up that you couldn't get off before, you can flick off with, there you go, flick off with your finger and that, or you know, use a little bit of sandpaper on them, eh? And you know, at this point too, you can take, you know, some of these holes that you've made, like, you know, for bullet holes or something like that, and you can add a little bit more detail to them. You can use the tip of a, you know, a small toothpick, and give yourself some small arms fire in the corners. Anyways, before you put on another coat of goop, flick off all these little bumps and stuff. Here, I'll zoom back out here now. Camera work. Anyways, if not, some of these are just styrofoam, which, I mean, you can always just put a little dot of paint on them later, eh? If it chips off in just one small point, just take a little bit of white glue with your paint and, you know, just touch it up. But before you do that, flick off as many of these things as you want. Make sure that they're, you know, and if you want stuff like this here, I've got some rubble, a little pile down there, okay? Those were little pieces as you're painting it. You'll get little gobs in the goop and stuff. What I do with those is I just kind of work them down against the edge, hey, and I just leave them there, eh? You get another couple layers of goop over top of it, and they'll stick pretty good, okay? Same thing with the rubble, hey? Like a lot of this rubble down here was just, you know, leftover bits of styrofoam that you paint down to the bottom and leave, okay? What else was I going to say? The paper here, like if you have, you know, little bits of, you know, paper that you're leaving down, that'll toughen up quite a bit with the gooping type mixture. And if you add a little bit of that acrylic caulking type stuff into your plaster, water, paint dish type mix, it'll give it a little bit of flexibility. But in order to do this, you have to mix it with the glue first before you add any water, otherwise it just doesn't mix up and you get big chunks of caulking, which is okay. I mean, this is 20-year acrylic caulking, cheap stuff, eh? Get four of those for 10 bucks. That's the cheapest stuff I've been able to find, eh? With 20 years, if this thing lasts 20 years, eh? But, so, what else? Either way, and that was the main thing I wanted to tell you about was, you know, don't worry about that pilling and the little bits sticking up all over the place. Once you've got a layer of goop on it, then you can do a little bit more detailing if you want to, you know, like on these here. I'll just show you on this, you know, bombing type crater type thing. If you want to add, there we go. If you want to add a little bit more lines off, you know, make these, you know, a little bit rougher. Do it at this stage here, and see, like, these are pretty big holes, eh? But and then that's a big bomb. But you know, you can add smaller holes in there too, and flake a couple of these so that they look like this in a smaller scale, and then goop it all over again. You know, some of those don't go too fine with the details at this stage, because you'll lose some of them if you put your goop on thicker than you really anticipated. See, like on these floors here, this was, no sense zooming in, but on this was that paper cardboardy foam board stuff, eh? I use that sometimes for floors, just because then I can do the paper effect and then I can stick my rebar into the foam. Okay, anyways, on that I took an X-Acto knife and I cut the top layer like floor tiles, okay? With the first layer of goop here, they disappeared. So, yeah, you know, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. So, anyways, go light on the detailing until you've got all your gooping on, okay? Back to casting again, and your leftover cast mix, you know, plaster that you poured into your whatever, to see if it's hard. The little bit that you poured into the styrofoam is a good test, okay, to see how hard that stuff is without marring the surface. When this is dry, that's fairly dry, and you can start kind of carving it. You can't take the stuff out of your plaster scene until tomorrow though, because it'll, man, guaranteed it's going to bust on you. Okay, so patience. Let it sit overnight if you before you try removing it from a mold. Unless you don't care if it's busted up, like you know you're doing something like oh man, what are those things? Lifesaver plastic package or something like that, and you poured it in there, and you want all the little squares, and you don't care if they're bricks. Okay, then you can take it out.